Sort of an informal nature to some of what goes on with the group here, and that's why I have my tie a little askew now and my tennies on, and it's a lot more comfortable. So part of this is to give us the message that we don't always need to wear a suit and tie, just like in ancient Rome they didn't always need to wear a toga. And of course there was a well, yeah, sometimes we won't go there. And of course, huh? That's right, yeah. That's good. This is in a way actually a commercial, believe it or not. Marko Rodin emerged about 20 years ago at Global Sciences and also at the 1988 Tesla Symposium. He was there a little bit, and he just absolutely electrified everybody with this whole new math he called aerodynamics. And those of us who bought that book at that time are forever thankful. He changed the way we thought about math and has laid a groundwork from that time forward for all kinds of new discoveries, and now they're coming into material manifestation. I'm going to turn this over to Christopher Taylor. He's helping out with the MC work, and really wonderful guy that I've gotten to meet yesterday. And so he's going to give the rest of the introduction to Marko Rodin and Jamie Buter.
Marko Rodin has been the pioneer of vortex-based mathematics and has been, as a result of his work, has created a coil that has changed the known science of electromagnetic coils forever. He has combined all branches of mathematics, has related his harmonic science to the math of biology, the perfection of microprocessors in PCs, AI systems, and more. With this new science, we see the potential to tap into unlimited and inexhaustible energy, producing unlimited food, ending all diseases, traveling through the universe, and creating an electrical Venturi localized space-time implosion, also known as a black hole. We also have Jamie Buter from spiritualresults.com, who has been a spiritual counselor for the Chicago White Sox, which was actually one of his first clients. And he's also invented life safety systems for airports, convention centers, and the Pentagon. He's been a spiritual teacher for the past eight years, and has been guided by spirit in the work of, to work in the field of energy and alternative healing. So without further ado, I humbly present Jamie Buter and Marko Rodin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back at TeslaTech again this year. For those of you who have been around, it's my third year. We've been uncovering and discovering some fantastic things. And I would like to just briefly just cover some of the things that I've been working on over the last year. When I left TeslaTech, Marko made a plea, for anybody out there who had the money to be able to provide me some equipment to show my 15% reduction of energy. At the time, I showed a coil similar to this one right here, and I showed a spinning magnet floating in the center, and I said that I was able to reduce energy consumption by 15%. Of course, at the time, I didn't have any gear or anything to prove that. It was just a claim. So there's a gentleman in the audience who actually was provided me the means to get this equipment, and I have since been able to prove the 15% reduction using just 6 coils and 6 magnets in a particular array on a bank with a bank of coils. If we have the video, I'd like to show briefly. I don't have the equipment here with me, and I'm not going to be able to show it personally, but I am going to be able to show just using a couple of devices here. But over the last year, this is one of the things that I've been working on. And the other thing that I've been working on is using the Rodin coil. For example, last year, my talk was entitled The Rodin Coil, or the Biological Effects of the Rodin Coil, or Health and Biological Effects. And I was really seeing some interesting things. For example, one of my friends in Sedona named David Sarita, I was able to cure an ailment he had in his foot from a splinter. And for 3 years, every 3 months, 4 months, it would swell up, get purple, and he would be out of commission for a week. Couldn't walk, couldn't hike, couldn't do anything. And he came over to my shop, and we got on the coil for 20 minutes, and now I can update you now that it's been almost 2 years, and he has not had a single episode since, and he has not had to have surgery since. For some of you who know about John Fiala, I don't know if he's willing to get up here and give a personal testimony on his experience with the Rodin coil and the sounds that I've come up with, or the 432 frequency that I've found embedded within the Rodin work. Would he be willing to do something like that right now? John? See, before John gets to speaking, what I was saying last year is that Marko, and if we can show this, this projector right here, what Marko has discovered, and it was over 20 years ago, he discovered this mathematical system. And just recently last year, I discovered within this mathematical system a musical tuning scale that the ancients have known for thousands of years. It's embedded in his work. See, when he gets up here and talk, I don't want to get too involved in it because he's going to be telling you a lot more than what I can do. But scientists, physicists, mathematicians, for the last 20 years have verified the work of Marko Rodin. And some of them have even claimed that Marko has discovered the math behind the non-decaying spin of the electron, why galaxies move, why planets orbit around suns like ours. What I have discovered last year is within the Marko Rodin family number groups, within his math, a musical tuning system, and how this is why this is important, because science and music were once linked. Pythagoras once endeavored to understand the fundamental principles of creation through music. And it wasn't until years or thousands of years later that music, after Galileo, was relegated to the humanities with art and literature. It became lost upon science. So within Marko's work, I've discovered the A equals the 432 tuning system, which today we use the A equals the 440 tuning system, which some of you may or may not know that Joseph Goebbels was one of the biggest proponents to get this spread all across Europe. But it is not a very helpful tuning system. It is a tuning system that causes mental fuzziness, it causes distortion, it causes illness in the body. It is also part of what is in the dial tone of the phone system that we pick up, and we get, it is a matrix that surrounds and covers every home in America, every neighborhood in America. So this tuning system that I found within Marko Rodin's work is not really my discovery. It has been known for thousands of years from shamans in the Amazon sing in this tuning system. Tibetan Buddhists, when they make their chakra bowls, they make these by hand, and they make them coincidentally to the A equals the 432 tuning system. Okay, so we have Amazonians, shamans in the Amazon, Tibetan monks in the Himalayas creating and singing in the same tuning system, and it is this same tuning system that I found within the work of Marko Rodin. So John, you want to give a little bit of testimony?
Actually, oh, hold on. Actually, what you'll find out is that a large portion of the, how many were here earlier when we had the vendor session? Okay, let me ask a question. How many were not here? Okay. About last year we talked about EMT, electromagnetic therapy, and we talked about a different variety of them. One of them was using coils and frequencies. On 9 October 2010, I became the dubious, I received the dubious honor and pleasure of active motor round, being the recipient of what was an actual live motor round that was a practice round, but it was discharged. It failed and in flight and didn't go off right away. A little guy went over he was fascinated by this thing, all a falling leaf, the tail section with the tail feathers. And those of you who have been in the military that know what the old motor rounds are like, the tail section is the business end of the puppy, especially in a practice round. And they're only 20%. They make a big noise. They don't drill a hole in the ground when they land. But this was at a large gathering of youth, and they had a demonstration out that was demarked off, but this one broke open and fell short. I went over, so I saw what happened, pushed the little guy out of the way, and grabbed the live round, the remainder of it, by the tail fins, and was in the process of throwing it into a ravine. And it made it about an inch from my hand when someone with their little iPhone they caught it on video when it went off. And it set me on fire. It picked me up and threw me back a little ways. It drilled a hole in me, actually. Left me with some shrapnel and some first and second degree burns all over, about 30%, mild burns all over. It got most of my hair, the hair on my arms and some of my face hair. It was all singed off, and I had a mild sunburn everywhere. And some of my clothes, my polyester clothes. Polyester is not good when you're in a fire, but it drilled a hole in me, and there was some third-degree burn, soot and ash, and I was leaking hydraulic fluid pretty bad, and I was kind of screwed up. The doctor, which was a PhD neurosurgeon at the scene there, it was part of a reserve Army unit, he said it would take about 18 to 20 or 24 months and 3 or 4 plastic surgeries before skin grafts before I would ever see skin growing over the injury again. John Arthur just left. Trat. The coil that you see up on the screen now was this one. There's a group of, actually most of it's our tech crew that meet at our lab at 5 a.m. on Wednesdays, and they're till noon. And behind this wall, there's a big, tall, good-looking guy that has no hair on his head. They say God made a few perfect heads, the rest he had to cover with hair. But he's back there laughing at me right now because a bunch of these coils that you see over on the table over there were wound by him. But they meet over there. John Arthur designed this coil after, and a large portion of it's after the Rodin numbering system, the Rodin's coil system. This is a 6-phase coil, and it's 3 phases forward, and there's 2 gold varnish and 1 red varnish there. You can see there's 12 leads, but there's 3 phases wound forward, 3 phases wound backward. Each of the 3 phases has a separate frequency. Using a frequency generator, not vaguely unsimilar to this one, actually the one down here, actually this is one of the ones we used actually, and verified by the scope, running through an amplifier, not vaguely unsimilar to this one. We use 512, 432, and 256 hertz
So in
very
the
low frequency.
A432, in the A432's tuning, the 512 and the 256 is the C, which I'll get into in just a minute. It's the note of C, or the heart chakra frequency. And the 432 is the A, or the crown chakra frequency.
And he designed this so that it runs multiple frequencies simultaneously, and it can run them both directions. And so what that does, and he can change the directions that they run. The young man that you've seen here sitting there at the console, that 17-year-old, that's my son, the one that's also on the patent for the inertial propulsion space drive that he's published. That was him. He designed this one using that coil and vitamin E and aloe vera. Hey, there he is. Use the console mic there. Swap out with the console there. Use the console mic. We're talking about the injury again. The first and second degree burn that I had all over me, how long did it take for that shadow to disappear? Okay, using that coil and vitamin E and aloe vera extract, you know, in 3 days, basically less than 72 hours, the first and second degree burn was pretty much gone. How many days? Okay, now we went through a series of where we were treating this area with the coil, and and rubbing, slathering it down with the vitamin E and aloe vera, and it would scab over. At first time it scabbed over, and then fell off. It was about 4 or 5 days. It scabbed over again and then fell off, and then it was 3 or 4 days, then 3.5 days, then 3 days, then 2 days, and it kept scabbing over and falling off. But how many days before there was new skin that didn't scab over anymore? It was actually 32 days, 1 month. The doctor, the unit, the surgeon that was out there at the accident, that was trying to plug the hydraulic leak and everything else, he said it would be 18 to 20 or 24 months, and that I would need at least 3, if not 4 skin grafts before I had any decent skin on there. We have another friend that got cooked just recently. He didn't get burnt near as bad as I did in this spot, and his skin grafts, that was December 12th, a year and a half ago, and he is nowhere near, and he's not tanning on it yet or anything. But Greg, you want to go ahead and do this again? Actually, punch it up on the punch the far left, sweetie. All the way to the left and all the way to the right. No. Yeah. Okay. Greg, you got that? Okay. Here it comes for all ladies. That right there is what's left of that injury. It's still kind of painful from time to time. And after the treatment with the coil, it was very painful for hours. The pain didn't ease up with the treatment immediately. Actually, it got more painful. And so it was counterproductive. I was thinking, oh, gee, why am I doing this? Do I like pain? But we kept up with the regimen. And what you see, this hasn't been treated for 4 months, 3 months, and that was 09 October when that injury transpired. And I was in bed for weeks. I was horizontal, stuck in bed. I was screwed up. There were 4 pieces of shrapnel that he said that there was shrapnel in there, and that it would have to be surgically taken out. But I told him not to sweat it. I'd take care of it. I had all 4 pieces festered out, and we're treating it with the coil and the vitamin E and aloe vera. And one by one, these pieces of shrapnel festered out. Only 3 of them were metal. One of them was some type of composite plastic, but they slowly festered out, and they'd come to the surface, and literally underneath the scab, there was a pustule of white blood cells, and the scab would fall off. And one time, the scab fell off, and that pustule was there, and the piece of metal, a little triangular shaped piece of metal, like a piece of pie, very sharp, was sitting right there and fell out into my hand. It just, it all festered out, no surgery or anything. So,
So basically what you're saying is that the doctor told you that it would be a year and a half to 2 years before you would even get skin in the area, and with using music and the Rodin coil, you essentially healed it in 32 days, 1 month. Is that right?
the coil, vitamin E, and aloe vera, and and the music frequencies, the natural harmonic music frequencies. That's it.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's fantastic. Thank you, John, very much.
By the way, this guy, without any consideration of compensation for himself, last year left members of my tech crew with the coils that he showed last year that he demonstrated with, the ones that he did, the demonstrations that that was the cutting edge. He left two of those two coils with us, and we put terminals on and gave them back to him this time. But that was where we started. He gave us a whole lot to start with and experiment with. And over there's a few of the coils that the tech crew makes, and you can see there's initials and stuff on them, and there's different windings, and we've been exploring different characteristics. We would have never got this far, and we never had this chance. My son would have never been able to make that coil had it not been for your kindness. Thank you.
Thank you.
And where's the funny guy laying on the floor? Where is he? Come on. I'd like to give a warm round of appreciation to Marko. Thank you.
So why does this work? Why is it that we're able to heal using frequencies of music? I mean, who here believed that you could heal using music? Let me see your hand. Okay, so I'm preaching to the choir, right? Okay, so I'll make this quick and I'll let Marko get up here and talk. Why does this work? Okay, Marko's work is how energy naturally wants to flow. It is what creates or causes the electron in an atom. It is what creates galaxies, tornadoes. It is how energy naturally wants to flow, which means it is what makes up your body. So if we look at these family number groups, you probably can't see these here in color, but there's three different family number groups: the 1, 7, and the 4, the 2, 8, and the 5, and the 3, 9, and the 6. This is what he has here, what Marko calls the mathematical fingerprint of God. And if we take these number groups, and let me just run through how he does this. Okay, if we start at 1 and we double it, we go 1 and 1 is 2, 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 4 is 8, 8 and 8 is 16, but the 1 and the 6 make the 7, okay, using Pythagorean reduction. 7 and 7 is 14, but the 1 and the 4 make the 5. 5 and 5 is 10, of course 1 and 0 make 1. So you're back to the 1 again. All right, this is the positive and negative electric emanations. And what's left out of this circuit is the 3, 9, and the 6. This is the behind the scenes or the magnetic emanations. So when I was doing my research, I found this matrix of numbers, which essentially does the same thing. Starting up here on the left, we have 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. We have the doubling. And then across the top, we have 1, 3, 9, 27. We have the thirds. All right, so when you take this and you multiply these numbers together, you get the resultant numbers that you see in the matrix. And of course, you see the 432 in the center here. And there are several things that are beyond coincidence for me that I would like to share. And going back to my statement about Pythagoras and how Pythagoras endeavored to understand the creation through the power of music, or through musical scales, or through musical resonance, through harmony. So if we take these numbers here, and we take Pythagorean tuning, okay, this is what Pythagoras came up with thousands of years ago. All right, he has these whole number ratios. Can you guys see any of this? He has these whole number ratios here. Now, just in case you guys can't see this, I have every single one of these documents on my website at spiritualresults.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see 432 docs. And you click on that, every one of these documents is in a PDF. So if you can download them there if you can't see these or if you can't write these down. This is called Pythagorean tuning, the most harmonic numbers, Marko Rodin's mathematical fingerprint of God. All these is online. You can download all these. So if you take the 432 and you multiply it by the Pythagorean whole number ratios, or these decimal equivalents here, all right, you will get every single frequency or number in the matrix. So Marko's work is in coherence with Pythagorean tuning. There are some other things that's not a coincidence, or I guess you could call it a coincidence. I'm not a mathematician or a physicist or an electrical engineer. So a lot of this comes to me through intuition, through dreams. I never wanted or never imagined that I'd be up here speaking before you, and I never even intended or wanted to create some sort of a healing device. For those of you who have been here for quite a while, you know there's a plethora of these. The last thing we need is another one, right? But I didn't have any choice. It just came to me, and I had to get it out. Otherwise, I was going to drive me crazy. And this is what we've come up with. So, if you take the 432 that you see there in the highlighted box, which I'm claiming should be the tuning for all of our music. Like I said, we use the A440 hertz tuning today. It should be the A430 tuning. And this is the tuning that Verdi, Mozart, and several others have used in the past. It is the frequency that Amazonian shamans use. It is the frequency of Tibetan chakra bowls that are handmade. They know the feeling. They didn't take online classes to learn this, okay? So if we take the 432 and we square it, we get 186,624, which is really close to the speed of light of the 282 miles per second, okay? What this is statute miles. The 186, 282 is statute miles, and everybody knows that energy or light doesn't travel in a straight line. Nothing really travels in a straight line. So what I'm contending is that this is 186,624 nautical miles per second, okay, with the 432 squared. Now, if that is correct, and we get 186,624, now I don't know if you know Elizabeth Rauscher, sitting back here. I've talked with her this morning briefly to help me with some of this math. Elizabeth Rauscher is the genius behind Nassim Haramein and the paper that he won 3 years ago. I don't know if you guys were here, or for whoever who was here 3 years ago. Nassim left this conference after speaking to Belgium and won an award for the paper. Elizabeth Rauscher is the genius behind the math. She's the physicist behind Nassim's work. And yes, absolutely. Let's give Elizabeth Rauscher a big hand, please. So I talked with Ms. Rauscher this morning about helping me try to put together some math for this so we can actually get some proof, because it's beyond me to do this. So in this work, in this contention that I'm saying, we got 186,624 nautical miles per second, which should be the speed of light, which is the 432 squared. Also in that, science has said that there are 6,044 feet in a nautical mile. I'm saying, if we look at this chart here, it should be 6144, which is roughly 1% difference, because math or the science actually guessed a little bit, and they said, okay, we'll make it 6,044 feet in a mile. I'm saying it should be 6144 feet in a nautical mile, and if that's correct, we count up using this matrix, we go up 3 and over 5. Okay, the 3 to 5 is a Fibonacci ratio. Okay, in my last talk, which I won't be able to go into here, I don't have the time, I have shown in this matrix of numbers, when you shift these numbers, you get fractions of phi, and you get 432, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, harmonic 6. You get the majority of these numbers here. When you use the 432 and Marko's work, you start to get a picture of the actual music behind the math. You get a picture of the tuning that the ancients have known for thousands of years, embedded within the work of Marko Rodin. It's phenomenal. So why does this work? If music can heal, if we can take a simple plastic kid's donut, wrap some wire around it in a mathematical way, and use the right frequencies, the right interval of the frequencies, using Pythagorean tuning in the 432, we get miraculous healing. We get over unity. We get, I don't even want to call it over unity. It seems like it's such a far stretch to say it's over unity. What I like to say is that it actually should be called unity. It should be what is natural. Let's say, for example, you take a picture, a painting, okay? To me, the internal combustion engine, the modern day motor, is essentially like taking a palette of paint and painting this beautiful picture and slopping it everywhere. You got paint everywhere. You painted it, it looks beautiful, but you got all this wasted paint everywhere. Okay, that's very inefficient. To me, the work of Marko Rodin and this math and the music system that's embedded within it is like taking this paint palette precisely and doing it beautifully. You know, Tesla never threw it together a bunch of wire, didn't even, without thinking through it, and had his thing. He completely thought it through, and he built it meticulously. Okay, and that's exactly what I'm claiming, is that we should look at this thing, at all of our devices that we build, whether it's a Tesla coil or Rife machine, whatever it is that we do, we should look at it from the standpoint of music. I mean, a Stradivarius violin, for example, is arguably one of the most precise musical instruments man has ever created. It's beautiful. So what if we were to take what I'm saying here with music and the math and the precision and make our devices using and thinking about mathematical and musical principles, and especially musical principles. Now, over the decades, there have been dozens, if not hundreds, of tough, strong, brutal NFL football players that have taken ballet. Why would they do that? Why would they take ballet, being a strong, fast football player? Because they knew the importance of combining strength with balance, combining brute force with grace, okay? It is what made them in the top 1% of all players in the NFL, at the risk of ridicule. Not to say that anybody's going to ridicule Walter Payton in the locker room, but you understand what I'm saying. So what I'm asking is to take a different approach, to take a different look at the devices that you're making, and try to look at them from from a musical standpoint. Maybe even go to some of your local college, your community college, and take some classes on music theory. I had no idea about music. I never took a class on music theory. I had no idea, and I'm up here talking about it. But I think it's important to start to look at this from a different standpoint, because there are some things, and I'm not going to go into the over unity. I got some things that I've got set up, but I really just kind of wanted to set the stage. I wanted to show you guys, using the testimony of John, and just some of the things that I've discovered about the music that is embedded in the Vortex. Because that is the beauty, that is what is now being revealed instead of all these numbers. It's high voltage, high frequency. You know, one of the things that Tesla and a lot of others never revealed in their patents is what specific frequency did you use. See, Tesla talked about the importance of the 3, 6, and the 9. When you understand the 3, 6, and the 9, you have the key to the universe. But what is the 3, 6, and the 9? It's actually thirds, sixths, and ninths. You see, when you take the 432 and you multiply it by its harmonic ninth, you get an F sharp. According to the Tibetans, the F sharp was the solar plexus chakra. In this diagram here, the F sharp is the speed of light. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that the Tibetans were using they have built their chakra bowls to resonate at the F sharp in the A432 scale for the solar plexus, and it also happens to be the 432 square, which also happens to be the harmonic ninth of the 432. There's so many coincidences that it just doesn't make sense that it could be a coincidence anymore. So I just wanted to get up here briefly and explain some of the things that we've discovered, some of the miraculous healings that have taken place. Now I could be up here all night and talk about person after person after person that has come through my lab in Sedona, Arizona, and have walked away in tears. In tears because they're no longer in pain. Because after years of being crippled and walking crooked, they walked out of there. No more pain, no more medication, no more money, no more drugs, no more pharmaceuticals, and are living, wonderful, happy, beautiful lives because of music and the work of Marko Rodin. It's phenomenal. So I think, in my opinion, when we look at our devices that we build, we should look at them that over unity, anti-gravity, healing, alternative energy is all one thing. And it's all going to derive from a level of consciousness that we've never really wanted to think about or experience before. And I would just like to ask you that from here on out, let's look at music and as something that is sacred, as the numbers that Tesla has come up with, the numbers that Marko has come up with, and let's look at them from a musical standpoint, and I think you will be absolutely amazed at the discoveries that you will find in whatever it is that you're doing. So with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for coming, and give a chance to Marko Rodin. Thank you.
It'll be working on this. Okay. It's the TeslaTech Extraordinary Science Conference 2011. My name is Marko Rodin. Got a lot of family here and friends. Steve Ellswick. I spoke at a conference, Tesla's conference with him in the early 90s. Maybe it was 91, 92, I don't know. That's them. And I came in with math. I had written a 500-page plus book. Thank you, Mary. And when I presented that, it had a lot of illustrations. The work I do really is a visual work. It's not a verbal work. It's not a conceptual work as far as psychological goes. It's a visual work. Math is really a visual language per se. It's just easier to incorporate it that way than talking about it. And to complicate things, the kind of math I do is way out there anyway, which doesn't make it easy. And even some people are math phobic. And I mean, a person who's math phobic, I've seen people get sick, ill, ready to go into convulsions from mathematics. So math can be a pretty tough road. To try and change any field of science, to try and do something new, you're supposed to publish it, you're supposed to get peer review. The saying is publish or perish. It's supposed to stand on its own feet. It's supposed to be independent of the author. It's supposed to be replicatable by anybody else. So, but it's also swimming upstream when you try and change things, which is it's usually self-destructive. So, so anyway, when I spoke that time, Toby Groats was there, and he said, "Where's the hardware to me? Where's the hardware?" And I had written this book, so one of my students sent it to Jean-Louis Naudin, JLN Labs. And he did an experiment with it, and he used my work as an example for the missing energy in the universe. There's a lot of names for it: B-field, torsion, axiom fields, spinor fields. When you talk about the missing energy in the universe, I break it down. Typically, people think of it as of like a plate of Jell-O. When there was what was it? I always need help. I have such a bad memory. What was the experiment in the early? One of you bright people remind me. What was the experiment? The Michelson-Morley with a Michelson-Morley experiment? They were looking for the missing energy of the universe, correct? They were looking for the ether. The ether. And they said, Wait, you gotta, I got the mic. You can hear me, but I can't hear you. So I'm gonna say it poorly. I'm gonna kind of butcher it a little, but essentially they were trying to determine if the vacuum of space was filled with an invisible fluid. They referred to it as the ether. Is that okay? And our ancestors, our great, 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 forever ancestors believed in this. And when they couldn't detect it, they concluded in that experiment, it was a big adjustment for all our ancestors, for our great-great-grandparents, because they believed in it. And they even had radio programs, they'd say in those days, being broadcast to you, over the ether waves or whatever. So Einstein is reported to have said that if it existed at all, it was an inertia ether. And that's exactly true. Okay, what I'm saying when I say it's true is just my opinion, and I have no college degree. And so I really, when I say it's my opinion, that's all it is. Now, by happenstance and chance, I got a lot of good peer review on my work. When I wrote this book, a friend of mine, Lazar, refers to it as Rodinese. My last name is Rodin, that's why they call it the Rodin coil. I had to use my own jargon to describe these things. I didn't want to plagiarize physics and calculus and stuff, but I had no choice but to borrow any term that I thought was a good fit, a close connection. And so it makes it hard for people to understand what I do, almost impossible. They can come and take classes, and I'm going to give you a class. It's not easy because usually the minimum amount of class is like 4 hours. And I'm going to have to condense it into, 20 minutes. You're not going to come away with very much from it, other than that it is coherent or consistent. It's simply put, it said that I have the most consistency in mathematics ever done. Now what I do isn't even mathematics. It's just simple, like numerology. It's just like simple arithmetic. It was meant for children. And all I ever wanted to do was do a children's book out of this for children. And I'm 55. I made this initial discovery when I was 17. I had this funny VW symbol. And you'd think I would have been able to get the book done by now, which leads me to another topic. I'm considered a discoverer or an inventor. I get to meet, all these years, I get to rub shoulders, know everybody, from Jamie to who's some of the big favorites of our time, Bearden, of course. And I get to have their insights. Even Maury King, remember Maury, everybody, who wrote the book, Zero Point Energy. Why was I talking about that? Here's why. Because I've seen a lot of scientists that are valid and true. I've seen a lot of them that aren't that good, but there's a lot of them that are good. And the better they are, the most likely their discovery never, ever reaches the light of day. I mean, I was over at the lab of Bruce De Palma. Everyone remember Bruce De Palma? And what did he make? The N machine, was it? God. It just, my heart bleeds for how much pain he endured. What was it? He originally was an MIT professor or something, and he did this experiment and went against the law of physics. Remember the balls on the springboard, and they bounced up, and the spinning one went higher and faster, and by conventional, I'm just kind of crudely, my perspective of it, it wasn't supposed to happen that way, and he devoted his life to it and stuck. He was a very difficult personality. He felt, in certain ways he was emotionally crushed. I've seen letters from him from New Zealand where he eventually ended up. I don't know if that's where he died. And he would sign it, in exile. In exile. Because of, because he stuck to a topic that was really off the wall, that didn't fit into conventional things, and he had a very different personality. So my point in saying this is I've found that inventors and scientists who make these discoveries are not good social creatures. And they're even worse businessmen. Okay. Like Amy, what was it, Winehouse that just died? Man, if the music industry had it self-regulating like other industries do, and everybody they felt that was on edge, they could do a vote with the Academy Awards or something. Are we going to make them have to go to rehab for real before they come out with their next album or something? I mean, they don't police their own. They should, they could. I'm not kidding. Industries do. You know, private societies, you know, builders, they set regulations, laws, you know, bylaws. To maintain equality and consistency in their trade. I mean, it's like everybody said, we knew she was going to be dead. Not one person says that they didn't see it coming, right? I'm just making a point. Anyway, in our industry of free energy, with mankind on the perilous brink of self-destruction with the Earth, well, I don't know, I'll assume you didn't read it. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, they revised their estimates of the health of the oceans, the world's oceans, and they said they're much more closer, they're perilously being destroyed and closer to destruction than anything that they could have ever imagined. I mean, I assume you know, it is pretty common knowledge that the Great Barrier Reef is going to be completely extinct in 100 years. Does everyone know this? I'm not making it up. And think of the billions of dollars in tourism. That's just going to evaporate and be gone. The tourist industry, because the water temperature can't take, coral reef can't take fluctuations within more than 3 degrees. And the oceans, they say, are already rising, getting close to that temperature there, and it's just killing off all the coral. It just can't handle anything higher than 3 degrees difference. Okay, so, okay, why have I covered so many diverse topics, and why am I talking about this stuff? Okay, I have a lot of reasons. I think I'll come back to this informal discussion, but first I want to cover some old stuff. Was it 2 years ago, Tyler, we did an experiment? Most of you aren't familiar with it. This was the magnet that was used. This is being videotaped, and there's been a lot of interest in how we did that experiment, what happened. And this drill, I was in Jamie's lab in Sedona. Tyler and I went in, to make a long story short, and I made some permanent magnets. I said that hadn't been done, let's do it. And the odd thing was that one pole was extreme north and the other was no detectable south. We called it a biased magnetic. The term monopole was used, but technically nothing physical can ever be a monopole. Nothing that has mass or matter on the third dimension. A monopole, the term, I don't know if Maxwell coined it, comes from, at least Maxwell said that there must exist a monopole to symmetrize his electrical equations. So anyway, this is the bit I used. It no longer has a charge. I wanted to have some fun with Jorge and Jamie, and I tried to replicate the test and do it, and to my surprise, it did not work. We could not do it again. So that's the update. We don't have the same coils. His coil that he had, it should have been put in a display stand and preserved and not played with anymore, but Jamie was using it with other experiments and he blew a hole in it, and so I have not a clue what the difference in the variation is, why it's not being replicated, and what it would take to do it again. We would certainly continue trying, and I'll continue experimenting with it. Okay, so that's why I have the bar magnet. This is from the 80s. No, from the mid-90s. This was the mandrel used on the first Rodin coil ever made. It was made completely wrong. I had that funny VW symbol. Do we have it up there, Tyler, at all? You want to look for it? Why do I call it a VW symbol? Why not? We've called it everything in the book. Mathematical fingerprint of God, millions of names. Nexus key. But anyway, Scott Gosler made this. Scott contributed a lot to this project. We don't have the time to discuss all the contributions. But I thought it would be interesting to see the first one ever done. I don't like dry erase boards. They're so hard to get the color off, they're so hard to clean, I have to use the chemicals. I'm a little crazy, I know. But if I could afford the expensive one, I'd have them here tonight. If I had a couple $1,000 budget. But I don't. So we went out, Randy and I, and grabbed some salvaged patio doors. Okay, someone raise your hand. Okay, you're the one, you've won the raffle, you've won the doors. You get to have them when you go home and take them with you. Okay, so Okay, I don't even know if this is going to work. I haven't got a clue. The reason I don't know is I should have tested all this. I didn't. I've done nothing to prepare. Oh, we have the funny symbol up there? Oh, there's me. Okay, VW symbol, let's see. Ooh, it's working. Looks good. Okay. 9 at the top. Can you see that? Didn't mean to do it that way. Oh well. Shouldn't do this, but I am. Start again. Will it come off? Yeah, I need some. If anybody has a little something for me. Okay, Tyler, I asked you to do some work, and you did some work for me on the fly pretty quick. Why don't you sure, I'll take it. Why don't you put up, before I start the video, whatever you've done to contribute for the presentation, go ahead and display it or present it, the full thing. Okay, let me know when you're ready, Tyler. Okay. Okay, how am I going to do this? 9's going to be in the center. God help us all. 9's in the center. It's the axis. It's always invisible. Then you have 1, 2, 3, see the different colors? 4, 5, 6. Does it work great? I'm really enjoying how easy this is. 7 and 8. I like to use big numbers. I consider myself a real good teacher. If any of you don't get this, I won't forgive you. Okay. This is a circle, right? Circle of life, Lion King. 0 is not on a circle. If there was an increment of 0, it would throw the whole thing off. Do you understand that? So it could be 360 degrees, this could be 360. You don't have 0 and then 1, because then you'd really have 361 radians. I'm not really dwelling on the point, just to say that this is accurate. Okay. And what I've found is I found a way to see spirit. You know, in the presentation, we don't have it yet. Okay, but I'm going to start ahead of it. I can prove that there is a God or an all-coherent intelligence. I'm not afraid to put myself on the line for that. I can prove that there's perfection. When I say I mean the proof exists, and I believe in this discovery. I barely understand this discovery myself. A lot of people have ripped and torn it apart. I've had really good peer review. Part of that presentation is Russell Blake from the Senior Research Department of Microsoft. I probably am brave enough to say I've had better peer review than anybody has ever had. All by chance, mostly, because they were interested. They came to me. And those letters from Russell Blake from Microsoft, he wrote 100 pages in higher math that I can't even read, translated my work, are available if you want it. You can email us. My email is fluxthruster, FLUXTHRUSTER @gmail.com. Anyone dissecting this work, ripping and tearing apart, critical evaluation is wonderful. None of this work is copyrighted, none of it is patented by me. I hope I can say that when I'm dead someday, that I did not do that. I've lasted this long. I hope I continue to be able to be free of government and corporate. Okay. Some of you have never heard of me and never heard of the Rodin coil, never heard of vortex-based mathematics and whatever. So this is all new to you. It's surprising to me is people come back and they say their school professor brought it up in their class. It's astounding to me, even on Google image searches, that when they do toroidal pinch, that my work comes up first. Even what's astounding is how poorly understood my work is. If it was understood, it would be number one. Anyway, here's how it works. 1 doubles to 2. It's the binary code. 2 doubles to 4. That's easy. What's the next number? Yell it. Thank you. Okay, this gets a little tricky. What's the next number? Okay, so I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, correct? Or I can just go 1 plus, I'm making it little 6, equals 7. Okay? So any large number, now the binary code, well, I'm going to skip a point. I'm just going to keep explaining. 16 doubled, yell it. Equals what? Next number? Equals what? Equals 1. Okay, by the way, there's a hole right here. There's an inversion. It's very simple. If this hole wasn't here, the world wouldn't exist. It's a part of the secret of the vortex. Okay, I'll make a little 64 just to remind myself. Okay, what's 64 doubled? Equals what? 11, 2. 128 doubled? 256 equals what? Now this is a train track. You can never leave the track. You can never get off the rail. Okay? I just did the infinity symbol, the lazy 8. I wanted to have 2 men on each end. I wanted to do a lot of things, but fortunately I'm not going to do it with the weight of these things. I was going to have them folded on themselves to show that it's sandwiches. Still with me? That sandwiching is more important than I could ever state, because that's called bilateral symmetry or parity. Nobody today in any university, if they haven't learned this work, knows that the binary code is exhibiting symmetry, okay, and that it's a bounded system. It's a closed system, which is real significant. It happens to be 2 ends considered the equation for infinity. Okay, turns out infinity in our physical world's infinity of duration, non-infinity of direction. Okay, so let's keep going. 64, 128, 256. Next number. 512 equals 8. What next one? 7. Next one. 2048 equals 14 is 5. Infinity will always hit one of these 6 points. Still with me? Okay, all I've taught you is that doubling never will touch a 396, okay? That it is a mirror of the system. It's called bilateral symmetry or parity. That's how we're created from the inside out. Even numbers are created inside out. I expect you to learn this math right now, but I'm going to tell you the conclusion. The whole reason that this whole thing's even working is because there's spirit. I own these, or you own them. I can write on the metal. Shooting out. I'm not wrecking hotel property. How many were here for our fire drill a day ago? Yeah, I don't know if anybody was aware of it. They were doing a test, and I almost kicked in a door. I had no idea. There was no warning that it was just a test. I was looking for bodies. And then I didn't break the glass of the fire extinguisher, which I was really proud of myself to get it out, because normally I could easily be real destructive. It's an emergency. I was really doing good. And then after I found out it was a test, there was a man holding a vacuum cleaner with smoke going into the plumbing or something. I held this vacuum cleaner in his head. They said, it's just a test. And I held it to his head and I said, If you don't finish, I said, I'm going to spray you. I said, if you don't stop with this dust. They said they were done. Let's go backwards. So this is called a point. Everything folds into the point. It's called the primal point of unity. Quick religious talk. I'm of the Baha'i faith. I'm going to go quick over this because we're talking math right now. I decrypted what's called the most great name of God. Are there any other Baha'is here than me? How do you do? Good to meet you. There's very few Baha'is. It's an old religion. Well, it's a young religion that's 150 years old. And you have to read the books. You have to get the books, evaluate it on your own. But in the scriptures, Baha'i scriptures, there's this thing called the most great name of God, and that's where I got this math. Because in Persian, Arabic, Persian's Farsi, Arabic is, they have what it is called Hebrew. All the major religious languages, their alphabet is their counting system. It's not 1 through 27 like English. It's 1 through 10, 10 through 100. It's called Abjad, A-B-J-A-D, Abjad numerical notation. I'm not a mathematician. We already said I discovered when I was 17. I knew what I was looking for. Won't even go there. I went through every scripture, every religion. I ended up finding in the Baha'i faith what I was looking for, the most great name of God, and I decrypted it. But I'm not explaining that right now. This symbol is literally the symbol of the most great name of God. By the way, it's one thing to have arithmetic with the geometry of the binary code. It's another thing to have the geometry combined together, because those are separate branches of math. What I do, the only way this Rodin coil exists, is it took over 20 years, and I wish, is there any portable camera? Is there any way to get a really close-up look at all these coils that were made? I mean, this is a smorgasbord of coils. Okay, so at some point I'd like to just get tons of images of all those coils that were made. Because to make those coils, this math was then transformed to what Russell Blake from Microsoft says he thought was impossible. When he became my student, came over to my house, after he took several days of classes, he said, if anybody had told me about this several months ago, I would have said it is impossible, because I discovered what this is. And it took a team of scientists that I worked with. It was a hell of a job for me to figure it out, to put the numbers in their place. It turns into a surface topology. We talk about the inflated universe, how this is the source, and you can see the source. I'm going pretty heavy for a second. Okay, I'll save it. Remind me of Heisenberg principle, uncertainty principle, and I'll stick with the numbers longer. Let's go backwards. We saw infinity was going to the right. Let's go to the left. A half of 1 is what? 0.5. Okay, half of 0.5? And what does that equal? Yell it, blast me, because I can't hear you. It's like I'm all alone up here. 7. 0.25 is what? Half of that? And what does it equal? What's the number there? Shouldn't be. It's too much coincidence, and it's not coincidence. 1 plus 2 plus 5 equals 8. What's the next number going to be? We know it's going to equal 4. Everything about it's going to be a 4. And a half of 0.125 is 0.0625, which equals 13, which equals 4. Now, these steps away is what I'm counting. You're learning. You're looking at the numbers. I'm not even paying attention to the numbers anymore. Doesn't matter to me. I figured out like cookie crumbs, a navigation way with this, okay? Because I actually have a pathway. Let's keep going. Half of 0.0625, last one. 0.03125, which equals 11, which equals 2. That's what I had when I was 17. I had a little bit more. We'll do a little bit more. We can be sure that nobody knew what to do with this. Nobody had figured out what to do with it or what it was worth. That's what I spent my entire life on, applying it to different branches of technology and science. Hey, I live in California. Okay. We haven't touched the 396. First of all, this is called the binary code, but it's triangulated. You can easily see that this is all triangles. Nobody knows that the binary code is not binary. I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to go to polarity either. It's just too much right now. I'm just going to stick to the fact that if you go from 1 to 2, it'll equal 3. Okay, if this was a circle of 360 degrees, this 3 here would equal 120 degrees, correct? And this 6 over here would be 240 degrees. Okay, you're getting to see what took me tremendous suffering and decades of work and many people contributing to figure out, okay? Because you're seeing that the 3 and the 9 and the 6 are completely different color than the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. And the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 is a solid line. But the 3, 9, and 6 is dotted. You can't imagine the suffering that went through to get to that. The person who figured out that this shape was a coil was Scott Gosler, okay? This right here, it used to all be solid. He figured out that, he said, what you have is a coil. I commissioned him, that was his job, to figure out what this is. I said, apply it to energy, apply it to space travel. I said, in the scriptures it says, this is the secret of creation. I said, I want to apply it. And he says, every coil has a field, and this is it, the 396, okay? Now, nobody would think that numbers have anything to do with electrical and fields, magnetic, but there's a different approach, and a man-made approach is more limited than having an answer and then applying it to new things instead of doing experimentation analysis. So that was very significant that the 3 and the 6 end in the middle of nowhere and do not touch each other, okay? So it turns out that the yin and yang is not 2 parts, okay? They think of that represents the duality of creation. Nothing to do with the duality of creation. The third part of the yin and yang is the S-curve. Okay, the S-curve is the third part, but it's always invisible. And I use this system to see invisible things, such as spirit, such as fields. So let's look at the first thing there's no such thing that's a duality. There's no such thing that's just based on 2. Now, no male, female, no black and white. There's always a third invisible force at the center that is the control. And it's as we synchronize or pulse surge in relationship to that, harmonize with it, that we progress and do well or manage to work together, that we couple. Okay, so 3 and 6 is the yin and yang, which has nothing to do with the duality at 3. Okay, watch. The definition of the yin and yang is it must always be one or the other, must bounce back and forth. It must forever be an oscillation and nothing else. Male, female, black, white, that's the yin and yang, but it's based on thirds because 3 doubled is 6, 6 doubled is 12. And what does that equal? Oh, thank you. And what's 12 doubled? 24. What's that equal? 6. What's 24 doubled? Which equals 12, which is equals a 3. 48 doubled? 96, 15, 6. Always oscillating, always back and forth. That is the yin and yang, with the third part, the most important. Because you don't see the 9. You never see it. It's invisible. Everybody's heard the mystique of the number 9, but nobody knows what it is. We got Cloud 9, Love Potion number 9, White Album number 9. Had to throw that in. Okay, so what's the significant about number 9? What is so important about it? A couple of things. Go ahead.
The axis.
Here we go. Wait.
Since you're the front row. Okay. Number 9 is the axis. That's the spin symmetry. Everything's spinning around 9.
He said, I like how Jimi Hendrix said it. He said, axis bold as love. He knows everything. So the axis, spin symmetry, don't underestimate the importance of the axis, okay? number 9 in multiples of 9 never change. 9, 18, 1 plus 8 is 9. 27, 2 plus 7 is 9. 36, 3 plus 6 is 9. 45, 4 plus 9, 63 is 9. 72 is 9. 81 equals 9, and 90 equals 9. The 9 never changes its number value. It's not kids' play. It's not superstition. It's called a fundamental property or attribute or characteristic. The axis is also unique in that it travels in a straight line. Earlier, Jamie was talking about light and how everything curves and warps in our world. Everything does, all matter. I could explain how that's how they proved relativity, but that's not our point tonight. Okay, so 0 times anything is nothing. Always 0. 9 is the zenith. The base 10 isn't 1 through 10, it's 0 through 9. 9 times anything is always itself, 9, never changing number 9. It represents spirit. It represents something that travels in a straight line, and this is the number 9 shooting out, creating and sustaining all these numbers. Now, the property or quality of a number is very significant. Here's number 1. Here's number 8. They horizontally line up. Turns out that everything that equals 9, the other number is its mate. So the mate of 1 is 8, and that their quality or attribute is a complete mirror of one another. Now bear in mind, this mirroring is very significant, and I'm going to really dwell on this right now. Okay? The best, Alice through the looking glass mirror. We wouldn't walk if we weren't mirrored. We wouldn't have hands that weren't mirrored. So the principle of this mirroring is very crucial for our existence. Okay, so multiples, now numbers know all this. I mean, the hardest part about this discussion tonight is getting something or information. We're always used to doing what we want with numbers, okay? But instead, finding and looking for the golden fleece or Pandora's box in numbers is what I've done. Okay, multiples of 1 is 1, 2. This is why I have so many, because I wanted to do the multiplication tables. I wouldn't have gone to this trouble to get 4 if I didn't think it would really help you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That'll be 10, which equals 1. 11 will equal 2. It'll repeat. 12 will equal 3. 1, 2, 3. Everybody knows multiples of 1, right? Okay, but does everyone know that multiples of 8 also is the same patterns of multiples of 1 when you reduce it to a single digit? Where's Venus and Cloud? Are you here tonight? You're in trouble. I think those are my kids. How are they ever going to learn? Yeah, somewhere else playing. Okay, they're around here somewhere. So let's do 8. 2 8s is 16. 1 plus 6 equals 7. What's the number before 7? 6, right? I mean, I'm going to go 6, 5, 4. We know that's got to be the mirror of that pattern, right? Okay, so 2 8s equals 16. How did I get to a 6? 3. And how did I get to 24? 3 times 8 equals 24 equals 6. Thank you. Next number, 32. 5. Okay, so if I had a control, I multiplied these. The constant was multiples of 1. And now I'm doing the same thing with multiples of 8. So 16, 24, 32, 40, what is the next one? 48, which is 12, which is 3. How did I get to 4? Wait a minute. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. 40. 8 times 5 is 40 equals 4. Next number is 2. How did I get that? 8 times 48. What was that? 6 times 48? Yes. Equals 48 equals 11 is 2. 8 times 8 is 64 equals 10 equals 1. 72 is 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, mirrored, starting from the inside out. Okay? I keep thinking to myself, you're thinking, well, what's the value? What's the use? I use this to get rid of friction electricity. I use this to make motors and coils, which is still kind of an abuse of the application because it's so much more advanced than that. But essentially, back to what you would think that TeslaTech and all this has to do with, it has to do with free energy over unity, getting rid of petroleum, even getting rid of our primitive nuclear power. So let's just continue the theme. But I am not explaining how to do all that right now, and I barely understand it myself. What's pattern is this going to be? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There's 10, which is equals 1, 12 equals 3, 14 equals 5, 16 equals 7, 18 equals 9. 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. No problem? Multiples of 2. Like I said, I wish I had a kid's book. Okay? Even Russell Blake from Microsoft had to go through all this. Okay. 7, 5, 2 7s equals 14 equals 5. Next number, of course, you know it's going to be 3. 3 times 7 equals 21 equals 3. Next number is going to be what? What do you see over there next to it? A 1. How'd I get it? 4 times 7 equals 28 equals 10 is 1. 7 times 5 is 35 is 8. 6, 4, 2, 9. Save me the trouble. Does everybody see that there is a relationship of mirroring starting from the inside out? Okay. 4 and 5, it's just going to be, I'm just write them. 4, 8, 3, 7, 2, 6, 1, 5, 9. Right? So what's the other pattern going to be? 5, 1, 6, 2, 7, 3, 8, 4, 9. So everything folds in on itself to a point. Showed you that the 3 and 6 are always bouncing back and forth. I showed you that 9 is the axis. When this is applied to electrical engineering, when 9 is positive, 3 and 6 are both negative. 9 is the control. When 9 is negative, 3 and 6 are both positive. No one's going to really learn this math. The students that learned from me took a lot of classes. It's very time consuming on my part, and I don't have the energy and strength anymore to walk and go through it. Except when this one is positive, everything else ends up back on the positive 1. It never breaks the binary flip-flop rhythm. -2, +4. Of course, this 1 and 8 are mirrors. This is -8. So technically, you could say -8 is the same as +1, but mirrored. They're opposite. All these numbers, the polarity, everything knows, has compressed and combined all these functions and abilities into one. So this will be +7, -5, back to +1. Which means that I need a total of 18 numbers now to represent all the polarities, that there's not 9 numbers. There's 18 when you add positive or negative. It turns out that the +3 is behind this -3, that the -9 is behind the +9. There's really there's 6 numbers there, 396, 693. It's a whole method of priorities, of rules, of principles that you have to follow, of how it works and what to do with it.
And we go out from there, okay?
I can't hear. I like this mic better.
Can you hear me better? Is that good? Okay. If we take the unison here in the center of this Pythagorean tuning, which is a ratio of 1 to 1, all right, and we go out from there, the top, one to the top and one to the bottom, one's the perfect fourth and the other's a perfect fifth, okay? The 4 and the 5 equal 9. The next set out, a minor seventh and a major second. The 7 and the 2 equals 9. The next one out, a minor third and a major sixth. The 3 and the 6 equal to 9. Okay, so the symmetry that Marko was talking about exists in music as well. So I just wanted to point that out. Every time he comes up with something, I'd like to maybe jump up here if he'll let me and show how the symmetry is also in music and it's also embedded within his math. So I'll let him get back to it. I'll just give him time to erase everything. Can everybody see that okay?
I'm just going to you capable, they can hear me, are you capable of, it's not on though.
Yeah, it is.
Could you cut this electrical bill of this hotel by 10%?
Oh, well, it'd be more than that.
I know. More than that.
Well, the
Okay.
problem is it's going to take about $1 million to do that. I don't have that. We have a video. Do you guys want to show the video? They got that video fixed. I wasn't going to be able to show it to you earlier, but this is the video that I've done with the equipment that was given to me last year, and I was able to show, nice haircut, huh? I was able to show 50% energy reduction just using 6 coils and 2 light bulbs. So go ahead and run that one.
Jamie, I'm going to pause it for a second and check the volume. Just take me just a second or two here. That image.
While we have the time, I was talking with Elizabeth Rauscher earlier today. Huh? Oh, yeah, hold on one second. Let me just give a brief explanation of why I think this is working. What I was talking with Elizabeth Rauscher this morning is why over unity is possible. And in the vortex, and if you understand what's going on with the vortex or the center of these coils, it is actually compressing or twisting and folding space-time. If we understand Einstein's field equations, we know that space-time is related. If you change one, you change the other. Currently, how we measure kilowatt hours, energy consumption, what have you, we measure it in how much energy in joules per second pass by in a certain time frame, okay? How much energy passes by? Now, if we take this linear example, for example, and let's say this is 12 inches. I'm just going to do a linear 12-inch thing. It's easier to do the math. Let's say, for example, we have a certain amount of energy going through this 12-inch space in a particular time frame. Now, let's go to the 3D vortex analogy, and what if we fold that and twist that into itself? We create an energy density. We create a tensor field. Within that tensor field, let's go back to the linear, we now have a shortened time frame or a shortened space, okay? So if we shorten space, we shorten time. So in that vortex, we now have a particular energy density that we can now tap into because we have more energy going through this particular thing, or the same energy that was in here is now going through here, so we have more energy we can tap into. When we look at the coil, we see, and I can show later on, tomorrow maybe, I can show you right now, with 2 amps going into the coil, 2 amps coming out. But in the center of the coil, when I measure around the poloidal diameter, I'm getting 256 amps. It doesn't make any sense. Now somebody said, well, you're multiplying all the wires. If you take all the energy, 2 amps, multiply it by all the wires in there, that's why you're getting 256. Okay, well, let's do that. So I've got 2 circuits, 18 wires each. That's 36 wires, 2 amps going through each one. That's 72 amps. Why am I getting 256 amps? Okay, it's because of the energy density that's creating, that's folding space-time, that's allowing that energy in a different space-time dimension. Okay, this is our dimension. This is our space-time. When we fold the energy in the vortex, we have a lot more energy that we can tap into, that we can get. The problem is actually tapping into that. How do we get that? That's been the whole problem. That's been the work I've been working on for 3 years, is how do we get that? So the only thing that I've been able to do so far is to use a spinning magnet. Because when you put a magnet in there, that energy density spins that magnet, and it bathes the windings in electricity or in magnetic flux, which creates electricity. Actually, a PhD electrical engineer told me that I created a windless windmill with this design here. But this to give you some kind of an idea that over unity or 1.7 times more energy coming out of it isn't some goofy thing. It's something that's real and valid that we can do. So Go ahead and run the film, and you guys can see for yourselves what it looks like. What I've got set up here, what you're looking at, this is my low night. For this experiment right here, I'm only going to be using these two arc balls. They're 150 watt balls each, and they go right into the power supply. Now, I have the coils bundled up this way right into the power supply just to show, first of all, how much power, how much wattage is being consumed by the balls. Now, what I have set up here is this is a specific power supply, which is going to mimic exactly household electricity. And over here is a power analyzer, which is going to tell me exactly what voltage and amperage is going on, exactly what power is being consumed by the balls. And also, when I hook up the coils, I'm going to show exactly what the amount of energy is just put in these coils upon. So we just go through some of the equipment here, what I've got, so I can show you. This is the power supply. And you can see it's set for a frequency of 60 hertz. This number right here is the voltage between the A and B phases. We have two phases, just like in hospital current. So the voltage between the two is 240. And this I represents amperage. Right now, it's not energized, so there's 0 amps being generated. Over here is the EOE analyzer, which I'm going to fire this over right now so you guys can get a chance to see what it looks like. Okay, so now that the system is energized, you can see the balls are going lit. Down here it says between both phases, we're looking at 2.47 amps. And if we move over here to the analyzer, we'll get a picture of that. In the upper left-hand corner, you see U1 and U2, which is the voltage between the voltage of each phase. We have roughly 120 volts per phase. To the right of that, we have I1 and I2, which is the amperage. So each volt is drawing 1.22 amps. And then just below that down here, you see P1 and P2 is the power consumption in watts per ball. So they're 150 watt volts, but they're only running 147 watts. And then just below that, you see the number 294.73.6. That is the watts consumed by both balls. Total wattage consumed right now is 294 watts. Okay, so let me give you remember that number, 294. I'll do that right now while we're performing live. I'm going to swap this off. I'm going to turn the power off. This time, this is the main, this is phase A of the power supply. We'll put that into the first circuit of the coil, which is the green wire. And so we have power into the green, and we got power going out to the ball. Okay, so each coils are hooked up in series. So actually, as the power comes in, it goes through one time, it comes out. Here it goes in this coil, comes out, goes in that coil, that coil, that coil, this coil, and then it goes into the ball, and then from there it goes back to the neutral to the power supply. Okay, so this is the B phase, which goes to this ball. We're going to go with that. And we're going to plug this in to the power coil on this. And it goes out. So over here, on the EOE power analyzer, what we have, these are the clamps that measure the amperage we get, measuring the amperage of phase A, measuring the amperage of phase B, which goes in here at the power analyzer. And then also we have hooked up, this is the voltage probes, which are then hooked up to the back of the power supply. Hooked up to the back of the power supply right there. See that? So we're measuring the voltage, and that's what we're reading all the information from the field. Now, what I'm going to have to do in order to get these balls to spin, these 98 balls will need to spin in here in order for this reduction to take place. So what I have to do is I have to, instead of using 60 hertz, I have to start out at 20 hertz and I'll slowly bring it up to 60. So on the program here, I have to type in 20. I'm going to use mouse. I'm showing the frequency right there. It started off at 20 hertz and it's going up to 60 right now to mimic the household power supply. So what happened is it went from 294 down to 250. Okay, you can go ahead. Okay, so essentially what happened is that the total power consumption of the bulbs went from, there were 150 watt bulbs and there were two of them, so technically it should have been like around 300 watts. It was only 294 watts is what was being consumed. Once I ran the energy through the coils, it dropped down to 250 watts, 254 watts. Now, that doesn't make sense because I'm getting work to do. I'm getting work to happen. I'm getting these 6 magnets to spin. Now, according to modern physics, when you get work to happen, the power consumption should go up. The wattage should go up, not down. So this is just one example of how this coil design, how it does something. You know, maybe I'm wrong about the folding. I don't know. We're going to find that out. It's been a long year because I've contacted probably 8, 9 investors to show them this video, and one guy said, "You're violating the laws of physics." I said, "Yeah, we can't patent that." Click. You know, it's been difficult. So you have to figure out mathematically why is this happening. But like Marko said, 15% energy reduction. Let me just give you how significant that is. Walmart and Home Depot, big box stores like this, on the average spend roughly $100,000 a month in electrical costs. Walmart has 30,000 stores. Okay, if you multiply the 15% savings over each store over 3,000 stores, you're looking at a savings of $60 million a month. Just in 15%, just in this. Well, this is just 6 coils. I can do better than that. I need to build banks of maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 coils and multiple banks of coils in order to be able to handle 1,000 amps that these big box stores handle. That's going to take, you know, a significant amount of money to do that. Finding an investor, finding somebody to be able to fund, who wants to fund this, finding something that violates the laws of physics is very difficult. So this is where I wasn't even planning on coming this weekend. Marko, we talked on Sunday. He said, "Look, you got to come and just talk about, this is an update on the solution." And so I decided to go ahead and come and talk and give you guys what I've, you know, experienced with the healing and with the energy reduction. And it's been amazing, but it's been a difficult path to try to get this out there to people. You know, I mean, just imagine the healing device that I invented. I don't even want to call it that. I just want to call it a harmonic massager. I could bring this to market for $300, you know, and everybody could have one. It's a harmonic massager, and they secretly get healed. You know, how great is that? We don't have FDA. We don't have anything we have to deal with. So, if you know anybody who would like to invest and help out and get this project moving, one of these projects, then that would be fantastic. Let Marko know. You have his email address. You have my website. That would be fantastic. But I'll turn it back over to Marko. Do you want this pointer? Yeah.
Hey, I'd like to ask a question. You know, we're on a roll right now, and things are going really good. But there were some rumors, allegations that right about now the food was supposed to be delivered. Well, some short, funny-looking guy standing over there in the corner with the black hair made some allegation that I can hold the food. What do you guys think? You know, should we? How much more you got? 20 minutes?
A week.
No, well, no. He made some rumors, allegations about being able to hold it so it'll be hot when we get there, so we can have it like Burger King, our way. Okay, what do you guys think? Should we hold for another 20 minutes for Marko? They can hold it 20 more minutes, and we still have hot. That's good. Okay, that sounds like a lot of favor. Anybody dissent?
I want a good camera, and I want you to explain just a little bit of what you've done.
What I've done?
We're going to have this video. It's going to be gone. It's going to be gone. It's going to be in their archives. Nobody's going to see.
Energy reduction device.
Oh, okay. Well, we can do that. We could take. You want to take 1 minute or 2 minutes and walk over there? We could do that. Okay. And here's what we'll do. We will put it on a camera to do so. Grant me a moment's grace here. I just got to find the camera. And the monkey pushes the button. Hold on. Okay, there's the, it looks like they're up on the screen there. Okay. Okay, I'll take 3 minutes. Actually, the PM in the back, Don Coons, can you come out here? I know that you can hear me, Don. Come on, come on. Swap out the other PM. Come on, come on. Let's get somebody else out here, Don. Come on. Here he comes. Now this is Don Coons. This is our production manager. This is somebody that most people don't have a clue even exists. And this is the gentleman that Marko actually gave the coils to. And right here, I've got some coils. This one says DC-C2. This was the second one that Don Kuntz wound right here. Here's one that says DC-C3. This is his third coil right here. And all the purple ones are his. DC to C1. A lot of our tech crew, what we do is we meet 5 o'clock Wednesday mornings and usually work till about noon or 2 at our shop or at my lab there, and we have fun. And a lot of these different coils, they have different initials on them. We've been winding a huge variety of different coils and doing electrospectrograph analysis. Right now, we've been using some of those scopes and looking at what comes out of it. Right now, we're in the process of preparing something called a magnetic viewer. We've machined most of the parts. We just got the mill repaired, the new motor on the mill, so that we can finish the remaining parts. But this, what it'll do is it'll let you see active real-time what the magnetic field looks like around the what's actually being generated. Don, here, go ahead. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what the coils that you did and what you got?
Well, like he said, Rodin last year, he and Jamie had done their experiment and spun a few magnets, and I just asked Marko the simple question: what if I did something with the coil around an electric box, and how would it change the field of the electricity traveling through the box from the supply to going to the end product? And then would it change the field, and would it increase the efficiency, which is kind of what they're doing on the board over here, is kind of drawing up what they're expecting to happen. So Marko comes over and says, well, here, take my coil and go play with it and call me back after you get through. Okay. Hey, Jamie, why don't you give me a couple of phone calls here and tell me how you're winding it? So we came up, John got on his lathe and spun down a couple of these, what I guess they would be like thread bobbins spools that we put some magnetic wire on, and
Small ones.
started winding them on the coils. I spent a lot of time at Walmart buying kid donuts, the little stackable donuts. And we bought a bunch of them, as you can see. And so we just started winding and playing, and it's the same science that you guys are all.
Kids' toys, big kids' toys.
Yeah. That's the commercial. That's right.
Surprise! Here you are. Here's your unsolicited endorsement. Yeah.
But Walmart only keeps 2 at a time, so when you need 4 of the same coil, you have to hit a couple of Walmarts.
We were farming Walmarts for weeks.
So we were. So anyway, but it's just like what you guys are here doing. You're here exploring, trying to find what you're doing, and then when something pricks your brain, you want to go and, fondle it a little bit, and so this was our fondling. And apparently we did a pretty good job of it. So anyway, we've wound a few coils, we played with the technology. You saw the results of his healing. His healing's a little more substantial, but the actual first one was a little old potato soup burn I got on my finger, but it doesn't make near as good a story as having mortar shells go off and blast you and lay you out. So, mine's just kind of a pit of, oh, my poor little finger kind of thing.
call John Arthur over here.
Yeah, John Arthur was part of it. So anyway, just kind of playing with the coils. You guys just keep doing what you're doing. We're back here videoing so you can have the discs, so you can take them home, look at whatever it is that has got that flipped your switch in here, whether it was the Bendini motor or whatever the math, science, or whatever it is. That's the whole thing, and that's what we're here for, and that's why it's fun to talk about these things, because you'll go back, you'll put practical use to something that you see in your own labs or in your own garage. You know, sometimes I hear these big terms, labs, and some of you guys are here going, wow, I wonder what kind of lab it is. Well, it's my garage with a toolbox and a table. You know, that's my lab. Now, I'm fortunate I have a metal fab shop that I can go and really play with some stuff too, but you guys